Welcome, all my fellow Washington brethren and sistren. I am your man and resident Washington football team fan. Luke, thank you for joining me here on the Washington Football Report Live. This is an emergency live because I had my socks knocked off when I finally looked at my phone and my phone was just blowing up. Bing, 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 bing. And I'm like, what the hell is it? Normally when that happens, some big news has happened. Whether it's Washington football team related or it's another team in the NFL or somebody's died or something crazy has happened. So I was watching film on one of these Giants players to try to break down their drafts. I was like, once I'm done breaking this guy down, I'll take a look at my phone. And I look at the phone, and lo and behold, Morgan Moses has been given permission to seek a trade by Ron Rivera. And the first thing I saw, it's crazy because I didn't know what was going on. So the first tweet I saw is JP Finley saying, Ron's turning over this roster. And I'm thinking to myself, is he alluding to, the signing of Bobby McCain and Charles Leno? And somebody just made a comment on Twitter and he was responding to it? Or is this something new? So obviously I go digging into my Twitter feed and sure enough, Morgan Moses. And it didn't take me long to find Rap Sheet's tweet about, Washington football team giving Morgan Moses an opportunity to seek a trade. And it all hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, this is what they've been doing all offseason. They've been building themselves to this point to be able to move on from Momo. Now, in my mind, it's hard for me to kind of get over the fact that they're trying to push my guy out of the door and Morgan Moses. And it's funny because, man, just a year ago this time, a lot of you wanted Morgan Moses' ass gone. And I kept fighting you off like, y'all back up off my man Momo. And you couldn't stand him. A lot of y'all wanted him gone. And I said, you can do a hell of a lot worse at right tackle. He was outstanding last year. And to me, he's the equivalent of Ryan Kerrigan on the offensive side of the football. Longest tenured offensive member of the team. And after Kerrigan left, he's now the longest tenured member of the team, period. Kerrigan was the longest tenured member and the longest tenured on the defense. He's gone. Morgan Moses is now the longest tenured member of the offense. He could be gone here shortly. He doesn't miss games. Just like Ryan Kerrigan, he doesn't miss games. He plays through injuries. There's always something to be said about a guy you can count on, which is why I loved Ryan Kerrigan. Because I knew every Sunday, every Thursday, every single Monday, if we had a game, 91 was going to be out there. Same thing could be said for 76. You got a game on Sunday, he's got a bad ankle, he's got two bad ankles. He's going to be there, okay? And they may have to stop play 5 times, and he may get up and he may miss a snap. He may miss 2 snaps. He'll be back. And there's something to be said about that. The consistency, the longevity, and the availability. And that's, again, why I loved Ryan Kerrigan. He wasn't great, but man, was he dependable. It's just like that 1997 Honda Accord. That shit's going to work. You're going to turn the key and it's going to start up. It ain't the prettiest looking thing, but it gets you to from point A to point B. You know when you step in the car, you're going to turn on. Maybe the heat doesn't work. Maybe the AC doesn't work. But you know you're going to get from point A to point B. That's how I felt about Kerrigan. That's how I feel about Morgan Moses. So I'm dressed in all black like the Omen, so I don't feel comfortable. But I told you, I have learned to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. This is uncomfortable for me because what you're telling me is, hey, I got an unknown right tackle that we just drafted in the second round in Samuel Cosme that we'd like to insert. And I want to pull out your 30-year-old, reliable, dependable, 16-game starter every single year right tackle. I want to take him out of the lineup, and I want to give you this rookie. That's a little unnerving for me. I'm not going to lie to you. That's not comfortable for me. However, this is what the good teams do. They don't wait until the train is about to approach and run them over. They get out in front of the train and they make these moves preemptively. Like, it isn't always comfortable when some of the players that you love are shown the door maybe a year or two earlier than they should be. But that's what the good teams do. You can't keep everybody. You can't keep everybody. And the NFL stands for not for long. And the next guy comes along and he's young and he's cheaper, and you got to keep the ball rolling in the NFL. You don't want to get old overnight. And that right side of the offensive line, they're getting up there in age. 30 isn't a terrible age in the NFL, especially for a tackle. However, he's only got 2 years left on his deal. Morgan Moses has been good for us. I'm not going to get into this, that, and the third. He's been good. Could you do better? Sure. You could have done better, but Morgan Moses was solid for us. And if Ron wants to move on, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm all in on Ron. So I've told you already, it's Ron's plan. Ron's plan. I'm a little bit nervous about just sticking a rookie in there and Samuel Cosmi. You know, we're all excited about this offense. The one thing that can derail all of the offensive talent that we've added is if the offensive line doesn't perform at its best. You get Charles Leno in here and he stinks, and then we don't get the same Cornelius Lucas that we got last year in relief, and you stick in Samuel Cosmi and he's getting his ass beat like a drum on the right side, you got problems. Because we saw what it looked like last year when we had to insert David Sharp into the game. God forbid we have to do that again this year. So Samuel Cosmi was a rock at Texas, but he was a rock on the left side of the offensive line. Now you're asking him to change his footwork, change his technique, and shift to the right side. It's not impossible. He played right tackle before, but he hasn't done it in multiple years. But they don't want this young fellow to sit. Even if he's the future at the left tackle position, they want him playing. And remember, I told you, I don't know what the Charles Leno move means. I'm kind of floored by it. Remember, I told you, I'm kind of baffled by the Charles Leno Jr. move, because I'm like, we don't really need him unless you were trying to get rid of Morgan Moses. Then you do need him, because now all of a sudden, even if Samuel Cosmi isn't ready to play, you can always put Cornelius Lucas at right tackle. He's a swing tackle. You can always put him over there. So even if you were thinking about doing something different at right tackle, you needed to make sure you were covered on the left side first. And they've done that. So I didn't know where they were getting at with the moves, but they all make sense now. Everything they've done to this point now makes sense on the offensive line. We looked at all this depth. We were like, oh my God, we got all this depth. Look at this. We can't lose on the offensive line. We got so many combinations. Well, all of a sudden, shit's changed. Now hasn't it? I'm not upset about the decision. And look, he's not coming back, guys. Understand what has just transpired, okay? He's not. I've told you guys this before. When they tell you, hey, we need you to take a pay cut, if that player says no, you have to be willing to cut them. That's the point of asking them to take a pay cut, is either you're going to do this or we're going to have to move on. It's the same thing with the trade. If you tell a guy he's got permission to seek a trade, there's no going back after that. That's the equivalent of me telling you as a worker at Walmart, hey man, we got an interview with this kid named Chris at 3:30. If we like Chris, we're going to fire you. But out of respect for you, we're going to give you an opportunity, about maybe a week, week and a half, to find another job before we do fire you, if we like Chris. Now, if Chris sucks, we're going to keep you. Now, you're feeling some type of way. What if the interview with Chris goes terribly, and they're like, nah, we can't hire Chris. He's awful. He won't be accountable. So we're going to hold on to you. Now, in the back of your mind, you're like, man, F these dudes. I don't want to work here anymore. They don't respect me. They don't value me. I can't be here. So you are looking for another job. If Morgan Moses can't find a trade, it means they're willing to cut Morgan Moses. He can't feel comfortable knowing that they tried to trade him in the offseason. That's how this works. He's gone. Morgan Moses has played his last game here in Washington. He's not coming back. It's amazing. It blows my mind that it happened that quick. You get Charles Leno Jr., And a week later, they're ready to move on from Morgan Moses. They were this thing was set in motion the minute they drafted Samuel Cosmi. They knew what they were going to do. Now, they couldn't have anticipated that Charles Leno was going to be released. But I think they felt comfortable that somebody out there was going to meet their expectations, whether it be a post-June 1 cap casualty and cut or somebody that was already out there on the market. They kind of in their mind said, we're probably going to move on from Morgan Moses. And the minute they got Samuel Cosmi, and then I think the final nail in the coffin was Charles Leno Jr. becoming available and signing on the dotted line in Washington. They knew they were moving on from Morgan Moses. The line is going to be revamped. It's getting younger. I don't know what this means for Brandon Sheriff. I don't know if they're clearing out space to sign him long term or. Again, he's not signing a long-term deal, guys. Again, July is going to come and go, and he's still going to be on the franchise tag. He's not signing a long-term deal. It doesn't make any sense for Brandon Sheriff. Okay, if he's back next year, it'll be on a long-term deal, obviously. And I don't think they've given up on that either. However, I don't know if this offensive line is going to be the way we remembered it, here over the next couple of years. I think Sheriff could be gone. Morgan Moses is about to be gone. Obviously, Trent Williams was gone 2 years ago. Everything's shifting around. They kept Chase Roullier. He's the only guy that has gotten an extension on this line. Everybody else is pretty much new guys across the board. You're going to have a new left tackle. You're going to have a new left guard more likely than not that wasn't here last year, even though he might have been here before. He wasn't here last year. You're going to have the same right guard, but maybe only for a limited time. He might be here for one more year and then gone. And then you're probably going to have a new right tackle. This is crazy. Didn't see this coming. But you know what? As uncomfortable as I am with this decision, because he's gone. I'm just telling you right now, Morgan Moses is gone. Okay? He may not be gone, but there's no Momo here in Washington. He's done. Okay? Whether he finds a trade or not, he's more likely than not going to be looking for work here post-June 1. That said, as uncomfortable as I am with this decision, I am comfortable with the process of understanding what they're doing. They're getting out in front of this thing early. 30 years old, 2 years left on his contract, got a young guy here, cheap labor, ready to see him start and play ball. What's to talk about? Do I love it? Absolutely not. I told you, as a human being, I like being comfortable. I like known commodities. I like to know that 76 is out there at right tackle holding it down for me. That is something that is comforting to me. What's not very comforting is knowing that Samuel Cosmi is going to be protecting whomever's under center, more likely than not Ryan Fitzpatrick, old Fitty, is going to be protecting his front side, and Charles Leno Jr., another stranger that I don't know, is going to be protecting his blind side. And we've got to just have faith that everything's going to be all right. And that is where Ron's plan comes into place. But wow, what a turn of events. Did any of you see this coming? Because I damn sure did not. Got a couple super chats. I think I do. If not, I do. We're going to get the hell out of here. Jordan Like the GOAT. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jordan Like the GOAT writes, what does this mean for Sheriff? I don't think this impacts Sheriff at all. Don't know if this move is being made. They're not clearing space now for Sheriff next year. That's not how this works. They'll deal with Sheriff next year when it comes. They're done with Sheriff. I don't think he's signing. I think they know he's not signing, which is why when we heard from Ron a month ago and he said, I haven't talked to Brandon Sheriff since he signed the franchise tag, they know he's not signing a long-term deal. They understand the economics of it. They know that ship is sailed. They're not getting a deal done with him more likely than not. I think they're worried about Sheriff next year. If he plays a full 17-game slate this year and he's dominant and he's an all-pro again, then maybe they step back up to the table and say, all right, we got to keep this dude. Even though he's getting up there in age himself, we got to keep this guy. He's phenomenal. He's the kind of guy we want in this locker room. maybe they say he's getting up there in age too. We can move on from him. We've extracted all good value out of him. Let's go get us a guard in the draft. Or maybe we already got one of those guys on the roster, Wes Schweitzer, whomever, and we're going to move forward like that. But I don't think this means anything for Sheriff, honestly speaking. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My man Big Money Sonny writes, Morgan Moses is going to Philly. I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to go wherever the money and the opportunity takes him. And that's what any player should do. And if that's in the division, now he may want revenge. It's hard for an offensive lineman to get revenge. It's not like a skill player where he can actually make big plays. Still, it would hurt if he went inside the division. And I could think of two teams in the division, all three of them, honestly. Dallas, Philadelphia, and the Giants could all use a Morgan Moses on their football team. But we'll see what happens, man. It's amazing that we've gotten to this point and how quickly we've gotten to this point. You can say whatever you want about Morgan Moses. Oh, he's always false starting. You know, he didn't have as many penalties this past year, but you can go back to his past and say, oh, he got all these penalties, this, that, and the third. He was a rock on the right side, okay? He was a rock. And a lot of y'all don't know what you've got until it's gone in terms of the offensive line. It's one thing when it's a defensive end. Like Ryan Kerrigan, there is a situation where he was all we had, and then we started drafting other guys. And so we were able to phase him out. You don't phase out offensive linemen. You know, this guy is in the lineup. And unlike defensive ends who they rotate, you don't rotate offensive linemen. You have a 12-play draft, that tackle, that guard, that center, that other guard, that other tackle, they're in for all 12 plays. You got a 15-play marathon draft, they're in for all 15 plays. They don't come out of the game. So the impact is greater with offensive linemen. So you say what you want about Morgan Moses. He was always there, always. Got another super chat. This one is from Terry Maples. Or first of all, I got one here from Calvin Krim. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Calvin Krim, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Calvin Krim writes, crazy, Lou. So what exactly can we get for him? I mean, if a team is desperate enough, he's got 2 years left on his deal this year and next year. So I would like to think with his track record and what he's done in the league, I think no less than a third. It's got to be a day 2 pick if you ask me. I don't think you're going to get a second for him, but I think you're good. You can get a third-round pick for him, being that he's got a couple of years left. And I don't know how he's going to feel about going somewhere else and wanting new money or any of that. But I think you can get a third-round pick for Morgan Moses at this point if someone were truly interested in him. The most you're getting is a second. I don't see anybody giving up a second. I think you get a third-round pick for Morgan Moses and you just keep it pushing. It's amazing because that's what we got for Trent Williams, and Trent Williams is 10 times better, but we were in a different spot with Trent Williams. They don't have to do anything with Morgan Moses, but they're going to release him. So we'll see what happens. Terry Maples, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Terry Maples writes, Leno, Wes, Chase, Sheriff, Cosme, love for Momo, HTTR. So he's got a starting offensive line of Leno at left tackle, Wes Schweitzer at left guard, Chase Rouillet at center, Brandon Sheriff at right guard, and Samuel Cosme at right tackle. The only thing I would probably change here is Wes Schweitzer starting at left guard. I want Wes to start. Personally, I think they're going to give Eric Flowers every opportunity to win that job, however, at left guard. But I want Wes. I would take this offensive line here. I mean, in my mind, that's what the offensive line is going to be. Right there, Terry. But I think, ultimately, when it's all said and done, left guard might be Eric Flowers, and not Wes Schweitzer. But we will see. I got love for Momo, too. He'll always be a family member and a guy that I'll remember, just like with Kerrigan, I'll remember for just the sheer durability. Just knowing every week the accountability piece is what I always remember about Kerrigan and what I always remember about Morgan Moses. Just knowing I could count on those dudes to be there, no matter what. Got another one here from Calvin Krim. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Calvin Krim. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Calvin Krim writes, I think this helps free up space to keep our D-line together. If that's the case, I'm all for it. It's going to save, I saw something somewhere where it's going to save us like $7.5 million, which is cool. But again, this is more about, I mean, the money helps. They're not, obviously the money has to, a huge part in this decision-making process. But I think it's more about, hey, we drafted Samuel Cosmi. He's younger. We want him to get on the field now. And yeah, it's going to also free up some cap space. That definitely is a part of the decision-making process for sure. But they got a young guy that they drafted in the second round. You don't draft second-round picks to sit him. That's not how this works in the NFL. You draft a fifth-round guy and he makes your team, yeah, he might be only playing special teams. But you don't draft second-round picks for them to sit on the pine. We ain't looking for him to wood here. We're looking for this dude to get in and earn his stripes and earn his keep. So that's another part of this decision-making process as well. But I think money does have something to do with it too. You'd be really foolish to think that it didn't. And I'm not naive. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Big Money Sonny writes, Freddie Lee in the chat wants to know how to donate a super chat to you. Help the brother out. I salute you, Lou, but I don't appreciate the bad news. Look, man, I'm just the bearer of bad news. I'm not the one creating it. I know you don't love the news. I don't love it either. Like I said, I'm uncomfortable here, which is why I'm dressed in all black like the Omen. I'm uncomfortable. But I've learned to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. But I understand where they're coming from. I understand what Ron's doing here. I understand what Ron's plan is all about. But it doesn't make me any more comfortable and less uneasy about this decision. But thank you for the super chat, Big Money Sonny. As far as Freddie Lee is concerned, Freddie, there is a button down at the very bottom right-hand corner of your screen where there's an emoji, a smiling face, and there's a $ button right next to it. Click that $ button, type in your message, and pick the amount that you want to send, and then hit the send button. So that is how you super chat Freddie Lee. Thank you for the super chat, Big Money Sonny, and greatly appreciate you. So, got a comment here from Mike Lowry who says, you sure your seatbelt is on, Louie T? Yeah, I'm not taking it off. I already told you. I'm unwavered, all right, in my support of Ron Rivera. The seatbelt isn't going anywhere. If anything, situations like this make you tighten the seatbelt to make sure that it's on and that if this thing crashes, you're not going out of the front windshield. Again, in situations like this, you don't take the seatbelt off. You make sure it's on tighter. Okay? If you know you're going to crash, you make sure it's tight. If you think you're going to crash and you don't like the direction it's heading in, that's when you say, hey, let me out of the car. And you take the seatbelt off and you get out. But if the crash is imminent, you don't take the seatbelt off. And I'm not saying the crash is imminent. I'm confident in Ron Rivera. Seatbelt's not coming off. I'm unwavered. I'm unmoved by this news. I'm just a little shaken, but I'm not moving off the spot. I'm in the front seat. I'm in the passenger seat next to Ron. I got my seatbelt on. I'm still controlling the radio. I'm still comfortable. All I did was look over at Ron and I said, you sure about this? He said, hey, let me drive. Fair enough. I'm not going to ask him too many questions because he needs to focus on the road. So, seems like we're getting off the Morgan Moses exit here shortly. Okay. As long as he knows where we're going, I'm cool with it. Anyhow, I thank you guys for joining me on this quick afternoon live stream. This warranted live stream action. This couldn't be just a simple upload. I had to do this live because it was such jarring news for me. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, allow you to get back to whatever it was you were doing before I interrupted your beautiful Tuesday afternoon. But in any event, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved Washington football team. Morgan Moses has been given permission to seek a trade, and for all intents and purposes, he's played his last down as a Washington football team member. They've moved on mentally from Morgan Moses. Now all it is it needs to happen formally, whether that be via a release or a trade. Morgan Moses is gone, guys. Wrap your brains around that and understand that Charles Leno is probably going to be your starting left tackle, and Samuel Cosmi, the second-round pick rookie out of Texas, more than likely going to be your starting right tackle. Did not see that coming. But, again, we will see. And don't forget, and somebody just said, Jay Willard says, everybody is forgetting about Sadiq Charles as well. We really don't know what they're seeing in him. You're right. You're absolutely right. Don't forget about Sadiq Charles. It's easy to forget about him because he did not play. He redshirted last year. However, he could be in the mix at left guard as well. Do not count out Sadiq Charles. They really liked him last year at left guard when they were going to give him the opportunity to start. And they did give him that start. And 2 plays in, he injures himself. He could be your starting left guard as well. I'm telling you right now, this offensive line is going to look vastly different. That is for sure. In any event, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with your man, Louie T. I will see you guys later. If anything else happens, if anything breaks, if he gets traded, I'll be back in your face, invading your space. But until then, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to watch this NBA basketball, these play-in games, this tournament, and we'll kick it on Thursday night live here on the Louie T Network. Until then, you guys take care. Have a good one.
LouieTeeNetwork.